Hello, I'm Mike Hayes from the Executives Association of Greater Phoenix, a business group here in town that's been around since the Stone Age. I'm Mike Hayes from Momentum Hiring Solutions. Today we have a couple guests from our group, and we're going to talk a little bit about their business, and we'll talk a little bit about my business, hiring. And to all you people out there at the prison system down in Florence, thank you for watching. Today, we're going to go ahead and introduce our first person, have him tell us a little bit about his business. Dave, I'll call you Auto Dave. Is that okay?
Auto Dave, that's
Auto
my handle. That's my handle.
It's a great name. And you, who's the one that's on AOL still here?
Me.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. That is something that needs to be corrected, and this afternoon. Okay, Dave, go ahead.
I had no idea AOL was even available anymore, but Joe managed to do it. I'm Dave Martin. I own Martin's Auto Repair down in Central Phoenix, and I'm a second-generation owner. We've been in business since 1971, back in the full-service gas station days. We started out as a Chevron full-service gas station. We've been in that area within probably a mile and a half of where we're at now on 16th Street in Clarendon since 1971. So we pretty much filled that area up pretty, for a long period of time. We have state-of-the-art equipment. I have highly trained people. We do a lot of the hard stuff, but we do anything from oil changes to basically check engine lights or engine replacements or transmissions, full suspension.
Did you say was it which relative of yours started it?
My dad. My dad started it back in 1971, and I was about 10 years old, and my father came to me and he said, there's no free lunches here. You're going to come to work after school. So I started pulling weeds out of a planter at 10 years old and picking up cigarette butts and, and cleaning the parking lot, and worked my way up and I finally bought the shop from him about 20 years ago.
But that must be like child labor issues with that. How did you survive this horrific upbringing?
Well, that's something worse than that. My dad made me sort out lead wheel weights. I mean, that's real child abuse right there. But back then, there was, your kids did whatever you told them to do.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
Yeah, I know.
And my dad was a short guy from Bayonne that had like whole cans, and I was scared to death of that guy. And he was like, I was taller than him when I was in fourth grade. So that tells you what kind of guy that guy was. Great guy, but don't mess with him. Okay, we're gonna introduce Joe, and then we're gonna do a little round robin, talk about some stuff.
Absolutely.
Joe, tell us about you. Yours is probably the easiest thing that we go over. So
Yeah.
give them the reason why.
Well, my name is Joe Elli, and I own Joe's Diner. My wife and I have been running it for 16 years. We're on 7th Avenue, south of Camelback. We're an old school scratch diner. I started in restaurant when I was 11, washing dishes, and my grandmother's way of admonishing displeasure was to hit me with a wooden spoon. So it was when we peeled potatoes, you boiled the potato first, and you peeled it with a knife. If she saw white on the skin, wrap. So that's the era I come from as well. And but I'm a certified chef out of the California Culinary Academy, and this is my hunting and camping food on steroids. So we are scratch pancakes, scratch biscuits. I make 6 jams nowadays. We make the product throughout the day, so it's as fresh as possible. We are all about no boxes. We're starting with raw ingredients and producing food that people remember, want, and still come for.
Pretty simple. So there's a commonality here I noticed right off the bat. How to work young, people that were giving you everything for free, and you weren't on your phone because it wasn't invented,
Yeah.
I get it too. And having to do different things, actually learn something. I mean, maybe if you didn't go into that exact business like your father, you would have had the background, which I think a lot of people miss. And I don't know whether everybody's gotten softer over the years, and we've just let people do whatever the hell they want. And then when they can't get a job, you're like, I wonder why I can't get a job. Well, you didn't do anything.
Right.
And I encounter this all the time when I teach at GCU. But Dave, give us something, because this is something that people are going to start bringing up. But especially for auto mechanics, summer's coming, and it's breakdown city. People like you, the tire guy, and Donley Service Center are all excited because they're going to get a lot more work. What is something people should check on in their car, like right now, to be ready so they don't have something major happen?
Well, we're unseasonably warm this time of year. I mean, it's over 100 degrees already. It's crazy. So you're 100% right. The thing of it is cars, vehicles, batteries, number one. Batteries don't like extreme heat or extreme cold. So if your battery's going to fail, if it's weak, it's going to fail when it's either really cold or really hot. The second thing is the cooling system. The cooling system that cools off the engine, that is paramount to make sure that that thing is working as efficiently as possible. Because this time of the year, what happens when it starts to get over 100 degrees, if your cooling system is weak, what's going to happen is that car's going to overheat and it's going to do engine damage. And then what happens, you're going to turn maybe a $500 repair into a $5,000 repair. And you really don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that the cooling system is working the best that it possibly can and it's in great shape. Air conditioning inside the vehicle, we all know that's pretty important because other than that, you're going to be sweating a lot. So you want to make sure that is in great shape. And then tires. Tires, if you notice this time of year when you're driving down the freeway, that's when you start to see the carcasses, we call them, the tire carcasses on the road. And that's because the tires, they're not in great shape. You got to check the date code on them, make sure that they're not over 5 years old, because that's when they start to crack, and that's when you start to have some problems. So it's very important. And I just tell people that if you're going to get your car, get your car serviced, get the oil change service, get it into a facility where they can look the vehicle over, and they have the ability to know what they're looking at. We do everything. We do suspension. We do cooling system. We do AC. We do it all. So the thing of it is we know what we're looking at, and if there's something that is a potential problem, we're going to let you know. And then you can kind of make some decisions based off of that.
What do you think? Okay, so I've mentioned these things on here before, like the couple times that you feel like you've really gotten screwed are when I bought some jewelry, when I bought some furniture, and then a lot of times you're going to go when I went to get auto repair. So how do I know who to deal with, and is there anything that gives me comfort that I'm not going to go in and just get creamed because of some repair, or I got a minor repair that turns into an extra incentive to replace everything?
Well, and here's the thing. You don't stay in business since 1971 by screwing people. Those people usually go out pretty quick. They get in, they make it. If they make it 5 years,
kind of like the roofers that travel
right?
around.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to come in. They're going to do they're going to do what they're going to do, and then people are going to find out. And with the modern age of the computer and Google, I mean, believe me, pretty soon you're going to get a really bad reputation, and people are going to stop coming in. And I've been in this business so long. I know a lot of owners and a lot of people that are in the industry. And I'm going to tell you, 90% of them are really honest, quality people. And I will tell you, with the cars being so complex today, the dummies can't make it in the industry anymore. You can't come in this industry with a small toolbox and start working on cars. You need scan tools, which are $10,000 a piece, and I got 10 of them. So when you start having that kind of expense, it kind of weeds all of those people out. They don't come in the industry and do that like they used to. So it's cleaned up a lot. And really, look at Google reviews. Look at their longevity. Go in and meet them. Go in and talk to them. Most people are really smart. They can come in and they can ask questions. And if the person can't answer those questions and you don't feel comfortable with that person, then you need to just walk out and go somewhere else.
How do you does most of your business come from like referral, or have you been in that place so long that just people know where it is?
Yeah, thank God for that. We've been in that area for so long. We have such a great following, and we have a lot of clients that refer us. And we're really blessed to have the word of mouth because, in today's world, it's a lot different than it used to be, where word of mouth was really, really, it still is important, don't get me wrong, but you look at Google, everybody just goes on Google. They don't even talk to their neighbors anymore. They pull in, shut the garage door before they get out of their car. So they don't talk to their neighbors about where they go to get their car repaired. So they just go on Google and look at their reviews and check your history. So that's kind of a lot more where a lot of our clients are coming from, but we still have a lot of great customers that send their kids, their grandkids. to us, and we're blessed in that way.
Now, how are you different than going to like a dealership and stuff?
Well, I will tell you, our customer service is number one. We take care of our customers. We make sure we're not a big company where you have to go through, call a 1-800 number and talk to 6 people to get to the answer that you want to get. You come in there, you talk to my manager, you talk to me, you talk to my service advisors, and we can give you the information, get you in and out of there, and make it really stress-free. That's really our goal. And we have the technology to be able to fix anything. I've got a couple of guys that work for me. They should have been engineers. They're so smart. I have my manager. He makes tools. He does the craziest things sometimes, and it amazes me. So I'm really blessed, and we've kind of got a reputation around town that if somebody else can't figure it out, they send it to us.
And is that because the experience level of the guys you have, they've been around long enough?
Yeah, and my manager, he's worked for me over 40 years, and he is a genius. The guy's just really super smart, and when it comes to technical stuff and fixing stuff, there's nobody better than him, and so I've been really blessed to have him on my team for over 40 years, and he's a good friend, and it really is a family atmosphere at my shop, and we try to just kind of keep it lighthearted and take care of our customers. And it doesn't matter what you do for a living, whether you fix cars, whether you do AC, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is it's all customer service. Our job is to solve the customer's transportation problems. They call us up with a car problem. They got to get Tommy to soccer practice. They got to get to work. They've got so many things in their life that they're trying to get done and accomplish. And we've got to solve all those issues for them.
Here's a weird question I like to ask, because usually people that work with the public, has there been something recently that's weird and interesting that somebody had wrong with their car, or something dumb that they did that you see? What's something that's amusing?
So this is funny. So I had a customer one time come in, and it was a gentleman. He came in and he said, he goes, I had this idiot working on my car for 2 weeks. And he goes, he screwed it all up. And he goes, I need somebody to fix this car. So we said, okay. So we looked over the whole car, and somebody had been in there and they kind of did a crappy job and did things that they shouldn't have done. So we called up, and his wife answers the phone. And she said, oh, yeah, my husband's been screwing with that car for 2 weeks. She drove over him with the bus, man.
So he was the one.
He was the one that was messing around with it. He didn't want to admit it. But, boy, his wife just drove over him with the bus, man, backed over him and everything.
Well, I mean, today, with all the electronics, it's not like when I had auto mechanics in 1979, where you had stuff that was pretty, and you could put your hands in there. I couldn't put my hands in to even get the oil thing out, because you can't fit anything.
Well, and I've been in this business a long time, but my techs come in and tell me stuff sometimes. I want to drug test them. I mean, they came in there one time and told me that the motor mount was leaking on this truck that we were working on. Well, they're actually hydraulically filled motor mounts. Well, the first one I'd ever seen. And one of my guys comes in and goes, yeah, the motor mount's leaking. I go, I'm drug testing everybody in the shop. I swear I'm drug testing everybody. And I went out there and looked at it, and sure as heck, that's what it is. So things have changed. To your point, things have changed so rapidly that to keep up with that is crazy. And there's stuff that we see, a newer car coming in, and we're like, holy crud, this is the way they designed it. And you start to, then you understand it once you, my manager always says he just reverse engineers everything to figure it out. And he does. He does a really good job of that too. And so, but when we see that stuff, to your point, it has changed. It has changed drastically.
Oh, here's a good one. What's like the worst car to work on? And what's the car that, like, when you see it pull in the thing, you're like, oh, geez, this is going to be like a 2-day process?
I would probably say maybe older German cars. They're the ones that they seem to take the longest. Getting parts for them is a little tougher, because a lot of the aftermarket doesn't carry a lot of their parts, so you end up having to go to the dealer, and then sometimes you have to order it. And a lot of their cars are just over-engineered. They're just, we're like an American car or a Japanese car has, 2 parts. The Germans, they got 6 parts, and so it's just a lot more. It's just a lot different. The American and the Japanese are pretty similar, but the Germans are just kind of out there.
Yeah, I bought this car a used BMW during, I called it the recession car during '08 to whatever, 12 or whatever. And I swear to God, that car was in a shop like every other week. And the great thing about it, so it's a big car with a big V8 and it has an air conditioner. It went like, you couldn't blow a candle out with it. And so I'm like wondering in the summer, you had to drive around for like a half hour for a thing to get cool. And I'm like, how the hell could somebody make something like that? But those cars are right. Anybody I know that has one, you need a mechanic to ride around in the back with his tools.
Well, and it's so funny when customers come bringing those cars in, they got so many bells and whistles on them, and you push this button, it does this. All I do is see dollar signs every time. It's like, oh my God, that stuff's gonna break, and when it breaks, it's gonna cost a fortune. It's just the way
Some
it
of the
is.
normal maintenance. Like I have children, and as they buy cars and they buy used cars to start, my son, we had to take off the tire to get the battery out. I mean, it was just the access.
Oh, yeah.
It was an Avalon, and Gallup, my manager, she says, Joe, I could smell burning rubber. And I went to look at it. I said, well, let's look at the serpentine. And all it had was a big plastic cover. Once you open the hood, there's a plastic cover. So you had to pull tools just to look at any belt. My Ford F-150, the transmission sealed. You don't check the transmission fluid anymore. It's 95,000
Well, it's all
miles.
designed. It's designed for planned obsolescence.
Yes.
I mean, you can't have. Look at air conditioners. I mean, they don't barely last 5 or 6 years. I mean, there was ones that were 25 years.
Yeah.
So
They change the gas about every 7 or 8 years.
yeah, which is not good.
Yeah.
But speaking of air conditioning, that time here in Arizona is coming up.
Yeah.
Joe, tell me. Obviously, the pancake thing's a big deal. I mean, lots of people make comments about it. And you're located in the Melrose district where there's a lot of other interesting stores and eating places around there. How's that location been to work out of?
Well, we're on 7th Avenue, and the only challenge I have is between rush hour. I have the lane. It's going in my favor. They're headed downtown, but I'm on the left side of the road. That's the closest thing to a challenge I have. But we have exposure. Whether it's the Melrose had a street fair and 18,000 people walk by my building, so they see it. We have a new sign going up, but it's been good to me. The community's come forward. I lost when originally I was on 16th Street and I had to move, so I moved across the Central, and that puts you lose your Scottsdale crowd, you lose your Arcadia crowd. They won't cross Central for lunch, but the North and the West Side have come and embraced me, and like I said, this is my hunting and camping food, so it's very simplistic, but I cook it at a level. Can't do it any fresher or any better, and it's just different. If you want ricotta cheese in your pancake, well, that's not what I'm making. But other than that, I'll stack my food up against anything in the same record. I run a carne adobada right now, and I'll stack my carne adobada. It's authentic. It's slow cooked. I'm using real New Mexican chili powder. So food can only get so good. After that, it's your perception of it. And so I'd like to hit that mark so that as long as you're paying attention and that you're my customer because I'm cooking it the way you think it should be done, boom, there we are. Service is great. I have single mothers for waitresses. One gal's married, but they have an empathy for them because they all have kids. And so they care about you. They have that special touch and that warmth, and they recognize you. My wife is great about remembering names and what's the event that you've shared with her. But they all have a compassion for the customers. And that seems to fall off in some of the service in the chain restaurants. They're just there, they're punching in, they're punching out, they're on their phones.
Well, speaking of that, hiring for restaurants is obviously a pain.
Yes.
I mean, even the ones that I've tried to work with, you're really, it's a crapshoot. And
it is.
I mean, you might have to. I think it's like a puzzle. You just got to keep putting pieces together.
Yeah.
And sometimes they fit, and then if they don't, then I get rid of it and I get another piece.
Yeah.
Don't you find that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I knew going into this. I've been in the business for over 50 years, and I've done every level and every job. And I knew that one of the pinnacles of problems I was going to have was training new employees, because there's going to be turnover in my industry. Now, like I said, I've got a gal that's been with me 13 years, another one with me 10 years, another one 8 years, so that doesn't have it. But when in the back of the house, whether it's dish pit or my cooking staff, I have to be able to easily is not the word I would use, but effectively introduce them, train them, and evaluate if they're going to make it or not, so that I can introduce a new component if I have to, or I can enrich the one I have if they have the promise, if they're willing to apply themselves. But that's a major thing. It's probably cost me $1,400 to turn over an employee just because of techniques. At one point, we had one biscuit cutter. If I got a dishwasher decides it needs to go in another place after he washes it, they'll spend 10 minutes looking for it. Well, obviously, I have a backup now, but we also are training them. You have to ask where things go. And as simple as that component is, it affects the cooks, the servers, and the customer. So every aspect of it, you have to have your hands on it. And employees are your lifeblood. Yeah, and so you invest in the good ones and you turn over the bad ones. And I hate to use the word bad ones, but you have people that are not there to work. They have a different agenda. But a majority of my people care about the customers, care about how we have a camaraderie attitude. I have never yelled at an employee and watched my souffle jump higher. So why yell at them?
Yelling does release a lot of stress. I mean, I'm a big fan of like yelling in my car, because I stopped really yelling at people.
Yeah.
Because one thing, it's not really socially acceptable. Yeah. It is for me. Yeah. But when you get really, I mean, I've screamed in my car, and I found out a therapist I know told me that, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to give that a try.
Yeah.
And I practically removed the dashboard from in there. But Dave, what do you do? I mean, yours is even more complicated, because now you're hiring mechanics, and we all know mechanics kind of think they're like a brain surgeon.
Oh, yeah, they're like doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they act like it, and they expect to get paid like it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Well, it's a challenge. And, you and I have had this conversation, in the last couple of years. I didn't have an employee or a team problem up until about 2 years ago. I had a couple people that had left me. They'd moved out of state to be with family, and things that I couldn't combat. There's just things that I couldn't do to make it better, to make them stay. So I ended up going out into the market trying to get people. And when you need skilled labor, I can't teach you to be a technician in 2 weeks. Joe can teach somebody how to serve probably in 2 weeks, and customer service is really a big thing. Whether you're in the restaurant business or in my business, you got to make sure the customers, because that's who brings the cars in my business anyway. But finding good people that want to work hard, because the environment, you're not in an air conditioned building. You're in a building where it's hot, it can be cold. You're working on hot cars. You're working, there's a lot of challenges.
You probably have like VAP cooling, but that doesn't work all the time.
Well, and when it gets humid, we know they're pretty worthless. All you're doing is moving air around at that point. So so you got to be a little tougher. And it's, to your point about yelling, my manager and I, we still laugh about that, because him and I used to cuss each other out on a daily basis when we were, 20 years ago. And by the end of the day, we were over it and moved on. But nowadays, you don't do stuff like that. You don't, I mean, I have to go in my office and scream and yell, just like you said.
That's why offices have a door.
Yeah, that's why offices have a door.
Now people are they're so sensitive to it. Like, I was constantly, from my father, because I was just a jackass. So he would yell at me all the time, and I would just sit there and think about, oh my God, I want to tape this because it's so entertaining. But nowadays, somebody would hide in their bedroom for a week if their parents or somebody yelled at them. They let it ruin their whole deal, and I'm like, why do you do that?
Well, my dad didn't yell. I mean, he yelled, but not to the extent. When my dad would really get mad at me, he'd write me a letter. And he would literally write me a letter. And to this day, I wish I would have saved every one of them.
Oh
I used to get so
that would
mad.
Be golden.
I was so ticked off when I would read his letters, because his letters they would be like, you know what, you didn't do this right. You need to do better. You need to try a little harder. You need to pull your head out of your, what. And he would go on and on. And at the very end, he'd berate me through the whole letter. And then at the end, he goes, "Love you, son."
Well, I mean, that's kind of interesting because one, he had time to think about it, and then he didn't have to emotionally deliver it, like screaming and yelling, which was what it would be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when he didn't like something around the shop, there'd be notes everywhere. Everybody come in and we'd be like reading all these notes, going shaking our head. It's like that was his thing. And I'm just really mad at myself that I didn't keep all of those, because I swear
that would have been a fantastic social media post. People would have just rolled at reading that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If I would have known what I know now, I would have had all of them. And right now, I would have just given them out every week, because there was probably thousands of them throughout my life that he wrote. And I would have put them, every week I could have put them on social media, and it would have probably went viral. It would have been crazy.
Yeah, because nobody does that anymore. And like people, even in the school systems now, there's nobody that raised their voice. I mean, when I went to grade school, we had corporal punishment. Oh. And we had a couple ex-Vietnam guys that could put you on the moon with a paddle. Yeah. And the worst thing was if you did it enough, they had you go to wood shop and make a paddle that they then would turn around and smack you with. So you're buying a gun and then they're using it on you. But I always kind of talk with people is there's just the discipline is gone. So I think as you get older, you start to think, well, everything's this way. It's easier. I don't have to do X. And then when you get out in the real world, everybody slaps you around and go, hey, what do you think? This is work. This is, my favorite dad saying is there's a reason why they call it work and not fun.
Yeah.
You work to have fun. If you like your job, that's great. But it's not like everything's got to be fun all the time. It just doesn't happen.
No.
Well, and you place people. That's what you do for a living. So you see it firsthand, and you interview all these people. And then when you interview them and they do a really great job at the interview is great. And then you put them out there and they just totally turn into something you're just like, are you kidding me? What happened? Or they don't show up for the first day of work. There's so many different things that happen in today's world that you're just like, that never happened years ago. Everybody was, you knew that this was your responsibility. And you're right, it was work. The thing of it is I don't like every day. I don't come in every day whistling zippity-doo-dah. But you know what? Here's the thing. It pays the bills. It takes care of my family. It gives me a lifestyle that I like. And that's important to me.
But I've had to explain to employees, we're here to make a profit, and that means efficiency. And you are an integral cog in this. And here is your place, and we value that. You need to value it.
Absolutely.
And understand that we're all working together towards something. And sometimes you have to have that explanation. They just don't realize that they come in, they get paid. They don't realize that it's predicated on the fact that the business has to work and work well, and what the end goal is. So I've actually had to sit people down and say, look, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is your part in it, because they just don't realize it.
Well, I don't know about you, Mike, but I ask, when I interview people now, I ask them, is there any reason why you can't show up Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.
on a regular basis?
On a regular basis. Is there any reason why? I have to ask them that. I never had to ask that before. Everybody just came to work. They knew these are the hours. This is your hours you work. You put in this time. You come in, unless something bad happens and you get sick or whatever. But I mean, they didn't call out. I had an employee one time call out. He had a flat tire. He lived across the street from my shop, and he said he couldn't come in because he had a flat tire. I says, you live across the street from my shop. We fix tires here. Why don't you just take the tire off, bring it over, we'll fix the tire. You can walk across the street. It's probably not that hard.
Well, that is the epitome of laziness. They ought to have that in the dictionary under lazy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it was something else. You come up with a better BS.
Well, yeah. I mean, at least think this through before you make
me something good that I can chew on and go, well, that's a new one. I really like that one. Yeah. This is an interesting, like when I teach a class, it's at 9:00. And sometimes I see the kids come in and they look like they're half asleep. And I go, God, what's wrong with you guys? Oh, this is so early. I go, somebody's eating their lunch at 9:00. They were working probably, some dude doing a roof was out there at probably 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
9:00 is lunchtime.
I have to ask if they have a life event coming up. I will hire somebody. I'll tell them they're 5 days a week. We're scheduled. And 2 weeks into it, by the way, I have a wedding I have to fly to. I'm going to be gone a week.
Yeah.
So I have to add, they don't think that's effective or that it's going to affect what they're leaving. Yeah, they just, there's no impact to it. Of course, you're going to give me time off. Well, you've been here 3 weeks and you think you can take a week off and it's not going to impact your position?
Well, and I had an employee one time that started working for me. In the first 2 weeks that he worked for me, probably out of the 10 days that he was supposed to be there, he was late 8 of them. And he said to me, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal.
Nothing happens till I show up.
You know, and it's really funny. When I was in high school, I had a teacher tell me, one of the kids came in late. He goes, I'm only a minute late. He goes, tie a rope around your neck and hang yourself for a minute. It's a lot longer than you think.
That's awesome. That is such a
that
good
stuck with
thing.
me. That stuck with me forever. And so I say that to my guys.
Well, I know I've had that too, and I say it doesn't make any difference if you're 10 minutes late or 1 minute late.
Yeah.
Still, what is the definition of being late? You're not there on the time. And I'm like, how could you be consistently late every day? All you have to do is set your alarm 5 minutes early. It's not that hard. I mean, it just absolutely drives me crazy. And for some reason, people take advantage of the, like interesting, when I went down to Mexico, when I did my internship in the 80s, their time frame was within 2 hours of the time.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'd show up for a meeting and sitting there and nobody would come. And I would just think like, oh, it's kind of a suggestion. And once you start getting into that suggestion, it can really, and I kind of was funny because then I started coming later. And everybody's like, oh, you're getting it now. And I'm like, not really. But it's different in different cultures. But I always used to get a big kick out of it. It's around 10. It could be 10, 15, stuff like that. So that was kind of confusing. The other thing I find interesting is that people don't, like, I try to explain to people, okay, so you don't show up or you're late or you're 2 hours, whatever. And this is not for an emergency or something. But, okay, so what happens to your work? It gets shoved off on somebody else. Or if I don't have somebody else, then it just sits there and waits.
Right.
The pile gets bigger. So who do you think is going to clean that pile up?
Yeah.
And you get this, like, sometimes people don't think about what the consequences of not being there is. Like, you just got a plug and play guy. You can just go, okay, he's here. Oh, he's not here. And it doesn't work that way, especially when you're starting to promise a guy, hey, I'm going to have your truck done by 1, and then the dude doesn't show up, and now it's going to be 5.
Well, and
Shorten your time frame down to the 15 minutes I have to cook your meal.
Yeah.
There's a lack of people that show up late also don't usually carry a sense of urgency once they're there. And everything about restaurant is a sense of urgency.
Well, and to your point, Mike, the thing of it is I stress to my guys, I go, when you don't show up, you're screwing the whole team. The whole team is affected by, and the clients too. The clients and the team are affected by you not being here because of what you just said. I promised a customer that I'd have their car done by 1 o'clock. Well, how are we going to make that happen? Now we all got to work twice as hard to make that happen, to still make it happen, because we don't want to let the client down. So it's definitely a very important thing. It's more important than people think. They don't think of the consequences. Kind of what you guys are both saying is, the thing of it is they don't see the consequences of that.
I think it's a lack of relationships. I mean, we're all on our phone or on email and things like that, so you're not paying attention to somebody without your immediate realm. You're worried about you, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
We'll
so,
just go around any busy place where there's a lot of people and look at how many people have what I call the vulture neck.
Oh, yeah.
From looking down all day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you go to a chiropractor like I do, you have to do like counter stretches and stuff because you start to turn into a hunchback.
Yeah.
Because that's all you do is look down all day on your phone. Yeah. And I think that is starting to show up as a real issue for people. And I think there's going to be some boomerang effect of that. They're going to come up with some issues that long term that are damaging, and I think hopefully that stops. I try to schedule times to be off my phone because it interrupts everything, and you just keep chasing your tail all day.
Well, I hope the younger generation. It was kind of encouraging the other day. I had a client come in, and she had to be about 23 years old, and she said, "I hate the phone. I hate the internet. I hate it all." And I go, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." But they're so inundated with it, and you and I, none of us grew up with the internet or really cell phones. So these younger kids, they're so inundated with it, and it's just at their fingertips. She goes, "I would rather go to the library and do research," is what she said to me, and I'm like, I was blown away. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
That's an old school take.
Yeah, you're an old soul.
Well, the
man.
other thing is you can't sit in there and rap on your phone because it's a quiet place.
Yeah.
So you're right. I used to like to do that too, but now, you got this chat GPT. That could do anything in the class you want.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know what the value of that's coming up.
Well, I really try to break this chain. I don't play music in my place so you guys can hear each other talk when you're visiting.
Yeah.
There is a camaraderie. I've been able to create a bit of a microcosm of similar to the small town I came from. I'll have a contractor get up and go and talk to a subcontractor at another booth. And there's nothing better when people are connecting within the restaurant. And so I do try to propagate that type of an atmosphere that's old school so that there's not as much negativity. They're not on their phones. I will go by and I'll see a wife, 2 kids, and a husband, and she's on the phone, and I'll give her grief. Hey, look, I know he's paying for the meal, but you got to talk to him at some point. And they'll tell me
funny.
they'll tell me what they're doing, and I said, no, I understand that, but I said that's the diner vibe. If I don't give you grief, you're not really experiencing it. But just try to give a little levity to this. The fact that I'm looking for them to make the connections, personal connections within the booth and with the other people. And a lot of my regulars know each other and say hi, and or they've worked together and they brought that in. So it's one of the reasons I do well, not only in the front of the house, but in the entire with the employees. Why some of them stay 14 years, and I'm sure you have that. You got to create a culture that's positive. And you have to, walk in. Hey, how does that part of your life go? And how does this part? How are you doing in that, that sense? I had a gal cut her foot at her house, and she went in and had the stitches put in. Well, all right. So you can't wait tables. You can roll silverware. Come on in. I'll help you. So you're trying to support these people so that it creates nobody wants to come to a restaurant where everybody's cold and negative. So and the only way to do that is to support the employees so that they have that positive attitude out onto the crowd.
Well, what you're talking about is building relationships.
Absolutely.
And I've always said this: customers buy from people they like, they trust,
Exactly.
and they stay doing business with you with a relationship.
Right.
That relationship is so important. And what you said about not having music in your place, you go into some restaurants and they got the music so loud you can't sit there and talk. It's lunchtime, and the thing of it is, it's so loud in there, and they think they're at a nightclub. And it's not, and I like that you said that. I think that's definitely a vibe in your place where people do. I've been in your restaurant before where I was sitting there and all the tables were taken up, and one of your regulars came in and he sat at my table. I'm like, go ahead.
Yeah.
It was just me sitting there anyway. So and then we got to talking. So
They call that a communal table nowadays.
Communal, yeah. It's awesome, and you know what? It's a great vibe.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, if they want music, most of the people have earphones. They've
Yeah.
got a phone. They can crank that out. But the medium age group that I'm getting wants to hear each other.
Yeah.
Billy Joe Bob came in from out of town. They want to have a conversation. They come and sit. Okay, they stay a little longer, but that's us.
This has been our businesses are fairly simple for most people to understand, which is good. Mine probably more complicated than yours. But it's great to talk to people about these topics of hiring because I think most people underestimate the importance of hiring. And I think you do it at your peril. A lot of times when people ask me for advice, I say, you know what? If you pay the person fairly and you treat them fairly, you should not have to do a lot of extra stuff. I can see buying pizzas or things like that, but when you start getting out to trying to mold the entire life of the employee, you end up getting a little too close to the person, and it's a lot higher to let that person go.
Yep.
So it's not like you have to be everybody's friend. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, I've to your point, I've made a lot of bad hires. To your point, it's very important to hire the right people because I've I've made some bad hires that really, I made
And they cost you a lot of money.
it cost me a lot of money and stress, and
Yeah.
and not to mention what it did to your team. Everybody on your team had to feel that, and it was horrible. So hiring the right people is so important, and making those right decisions. And I've learned a lot over my lifetime of doing this for a long period of time. And on when I interview people, I make sure all my whole staff interviews them. So that's very important. And you got to get the right fit, even if they can fix cars and they're really good at fixing cars, but they're just really crappy people. You don't want them on your team because they'll destroy the rest of your people.
Yes.
It's called like a cancer.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else. Those people can.
Do you have
that.
them perform any tasks to show that they know it, or you're able to do it orally?
Well, it's really kind of funny you say that because my manager is really good at that. He's so smart. He'll like get a wiring diagram out and he'll tell him, he goes, hey, tell me, how would you shut this light off with this wiring schematic? And a lot of them, they say, oh yeah, I'm really good at electrical. I'm really good, because electrical seems to be the toughest part of my business. Pretty much all three of us can look at something and go, yeah, that's broken. But when it comes to electricity, God, who knows where the problem really is? You have to do a lot of testing. You have to have tools. You have to have, technology. You have to have smarts. You have to be able to trace that down. So when it comes to electrical, that's the hard part, is finding somebody that's really, really good at it, good at that kind of thing, and knows how to test things properly. So he'll give them a little
Dry
IQ,
run.
dry run IQ test kind of thing. And
I have them cook a couple of eggs and an omelet and dice an onion, and I can tell everything I need to know about that.
Yeah.
So I like your guys'
Well,
wiring.
you guys have do jobs.
Yeah.
Do jobs are different than other jobs because you can't fake it. I mean, if you get in a marketing job, you might be able, or a frickin' bank, because they hire the same people over and over. You can move around the whole town
Yeah.
20 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's going to take them a year to figure out, boy, that guy's a slug. And it's usually true. But in your business, if you got you get all the cars back that the dude worked on in a week, well, there's a problem. You get people to keep sending their food back, well, that's a problem. So then you get pissed off customer.
Well,
now you
that's
got
a
to go
trade
deal
difference.
with it.
The fact that we're in trades.
Well, and what you said about being a doer, 100% right. I hired a guy one time that had more patches on his shirt than anybody had ever seen in my life. He had passed every automotive test known to man. The guy couldn't fix a car to save his life. He took a car apart and couldn't get back together. My guy that didn't have any patches put it back together.
Well, he would be a good teacher.
Yeah, he was. He was actually
That's
a good
usually
teacher.
it, yeah.
He was a good teacher. He was teaching for years, and he got tired of that, and he wanted to get back into the industry. But he knew theory. He knew how to read a book. He knew how to pass a test. He was really good at retaining that kind of information. But when it come to actually doing it, he couldn't do it.
Well, I'll tell you, this has been a great discussion. I mean, you guys, we got off topic a little bit, but I think it was good. People need to realize that businesses, how they deal with employees, and that's always a hard thing. But some people know better than others, but it always helps to hear when somebody actually does it. It's great to write about it if you don't do it, but if you do it, then that advice that comes is very valuable. So I want to thank both of you guys here. Hey, look us up online. Come see some of our businesses. You won't be sorry. This is Mike Hayes for the Executives Association of Greater Phoenix podcast.